In the 1990s, a supernatural event that shocked the world occurred in Madrid, Spain. Today we will talk about the actual occurrence of this supernatural event. According to police records, the police station received an emergency report in the early morning of June 15, 1991. When the police arrived, there are many bloodstains on the ground. Following the bloodstain, the scene in front of them stunned the police. What exactly did they see? This has to start from 3 days ago, accompanied by the first ray of sunshine in the morning. The female lead is up. The female lead lives in a single-parent family, because MOM's small restaurant is very busy, so I always come home late at night. So the task of taking care of the 3 younger brothers and sisters falls on the female lead. She woke up her brothers and sisters. After breakfast, I went to school. In class, due to the approaching solar eclipse, the teacher is also talking about knowledge about solar eclipses. Some civilizations believe that solar eclipses represent darkness, cover up the light. It's a great time to sacrifice. Speaking without intention. Intentional listener. What the female protagonist wants is to summon souls when the darkness covers the light. He misses his father too much. So I want to recruit my father's asshole. So while everyone was waiting for the solar eclipse, the female lead and 2 companions arrived at the school's miscellaneous room. The female protagonist takes out a psychic board and a photo of her father, plus a small wine glass. All 3 girls stretched out a finger and placed it on the small glass of wine. Soon the cup started moving by itself. We'll talk about it later. I'll answer the girls' questions with a no later. But one of the girls doesn't believe it at all. At this moment, the cup pressed by the female protagonist quickly moved again, but the female protagonist shook her head. She didn't move the cup. The 2 of them put their fingers up again, half believing and half believing. But the cup was boiling hot for a while. The 2 of them withdrew their hands again. Only the female lead's fingers are unharmed. Suddenly, the cup rolled and exploded. The female lead's fingers also oozed blood. And at this moment, it happens to be a total solar eclipse. The female protagonist seems to have been possessed by something. Remain motionless. The psychic board on one side was also broken into 2 pieces. The female protagonist suddenly lay down on the ground. The female lead lying on the ground seems to be singing rap in a low voice. Guy, come up and listen. Suddenly stunned. Scared, she kept retreating. And the female protagonist suddenly sat up at this moment. Later, the female lead woke up in the school clinic. Auntie only said that the female lead had low blood sugar. Tell her to go back and eat more braised pork belly. The female lead who returned home immediately placed the backpack containing the psychic version on the wardrobe. Can turn around. That backpack unexpectedly fell off again, put it up again and fall down again. The female protagonist simply placed her under the bed, then touched the thick plush toy and say, "Why are you eating?" The female host has a piece of braised pork belly, but my hand doesn't listen anymore, shaking like Parkinson's. I can't even eat my mouth. Even the youngest brother laughed. I finally got my mouth full. When I finally woke up, I had no recollection of what had just happened. 3 fingerprints inexplicably appear on the shoulders. When bathing my little brother at night, suddenly, there was a huge noise coming from outside. The female lead goes out to check. Just for a moment. Little brother's bathing. So suddenly it gets hot. My little brother's body is all burnt red. If the female lead comes a little later, it will be dangerous. When sleeping, the female protagonist is afraid and put the backpack inside the bucket outside the door. I don't know how long it took. The female protagonist was suddenly awakened. She sat up and took a look. I noticed that the cabinet mirror inside slowly turned around and I was really scared when I looked in the mirror at night. Young girl was once scared. The female protagonist opened the cabinet door and found 2 younger sisters inside. They stayed up most of the night and hid in the cabinet. What were they doing? Hide and seek. And at this moment, the figure of her deceased father appeared behind her, and then the female lead gets a lot of tentacles. Not many black hands are entangled. Sure enough, the female protagonist woke up in shock. It turned out to be a dream. The next day when the female protagonist was at school, I took the time to come to the miscellaneous room again. I met a blind nun here. The nun told the matron, "What you are doing is extremely dangerous." The female protagonist said, "I just want to talk to Dad." But the nun warned him, "It's not your father who's talking to you. Something else responded to you. I'm with you now." The nun wants to help the mistress, spelling a spell in his mouth to let unclean things leave. Finally, I would like to remind you to protect your younger brothers and sisters. Let the female lead leave. After the female lead leaves, found his 2 buddies, but the 2 companions have gradually distanced themselves from her since they channeled yesterday. With a heavy heart, the female protagonist returned home. So my younger brothers and sisters. The female protagonist suddenly remembered what the nun had said. Let yourself protect your siblings well. So she found a powerful heavenly dragon formation in a magic book to ward off evil spirits and avoid demons. So he forced himself down and hung it by the bedside. But that night, a dark shadow broke in, burned down all the heavenly dragon formation of the great power. At the same time, the black paw was still sticking into my sister's bed, slowly groping upwards, and then suddenly grabbed my sister's neck. The female protagonist rushed forward to rescue her. It looks like the female lead is pinching her sister's neck. But one wave has not subsided, and another wave has risen again. There is still a shadow slowly coming over outside the room. The sisters hugged the female lead's thighs tightly. The female protagonist also held the cross and aimed it at the door. Don't scare me. It turned out that Mom came back. The sisters were busy telling Mom that ghosts were present, and when the female protagonist revealed that the psychic board she played had summoned demons, Mom said she's been feeling nervous all day, and there was a big argument. On the third morning, when the female lead is still sleeping, two younger sisters suddenly ran into their room and shouted to get up, and even told the female lead to play a game. As he spoke, he picked up the female lead's arm and chewed it up. Did the zombie come out of the cage at this time? The female protagonist exclaimed in horror, calling for her mother to come over. But I said one thing, I need you to grow up. And then he reached out his palm, and right above that, the female protagonist suddenly woke up with a start. So it's my first time visiting relatives. Come on, it's so mysterious. The female protagonist was frantically wiping the blood stains, and then I smelled a strange smell. She flipped the mattress over. The source of the smell was found on the back of the mattress. It's like a fingerprint. She went to her younger brother and sister's room again, without exception. There is a black figure in the shape of a human on the back of the mattress. Even more terrifying is that the younger brother even told the female lead, Dad came back last night, saying to take my brother into her world. This scared the female protagonist and immediately went to find the blind-eyed nun in the school clutter room. She asked the nuns how to drive them away. The nun told him, the manual of the channeling version states that when channeling is over, is necessary to say goodbye. If you don't say it, the other person will keep pestering you. The female protagonist suddenly realized, now that everyone knows the importance of the manual, right? So the female leader immediately found her two little sisters, tell them they need to channel again to say goodbye. But the two companions have completely broken with themselves. One of the girlfriends told the female lead the reason. On the day of the original channeling, the female lead is not singing rap at all, but she said that I'll die in 2 days. That's today. The disheartened female lead walked to her mother's small restaurant. I want my mom to go home. That's how I feel secure. But the busy mother has no time to take care of her daughter. No way. The female protagonist returned home and asked her two sisters to complete this spiritual farewell ceremony with her. The female protagonist assembled the damaged channeling board and began channeling at 11:45 p.m. Suddenly, a demonic wind blew through the door and it was opened. The female protagonist asked if you came yet. The cup moved to the female lead and said, please leave here. The cup has moved again. No. It's easier to invite God than to give God away. Various strange noises also appeared in the room at this time. Another demonic wind blew by. The candle went out this time. The transparent board has cracked again. The quilt rolled away in a straight line towards the distance. Isn't this your own room? The black marks on the mattress seem to have deepened again. The female lead wants to touch it. As a result, a tentacle protruded from inside. Hand off. Bar. Who wants to hold hands with you? The female protagonist broke free from her tentacles and ran out. Finally, the alarm number was immediately dialed. And at this moment, the little brother was suddenly grabbed by a tentacle. The female protagonist shouted no. I chased after him like crazy. When I arrived at the bathroom, I found my younger brother sitting there in good condition. So I quickly picked up my little brother, take the sisters and start running. At this point, the female protagonist had already taken her sisters onto the elevator. But when I got on the elevator and looked in the mirror, I realized that I wasn't holding my younger brother at all, but a cloud of air. Conscious of being manipulated by tentacles, the female lead hurriedly ran back, run all the way into the bathroom. Sure enough, I found my younger brother sitting in the bathtub. But the next second, my younger brother will be dragged away. The last shadow stood up. The female lead came forward but was slapped on the glass when she looked up. But I was startled by my own mirror image, because the oneself in the mirror is not oneself at all. The female protagonist suddenly understood. Originally, I had already been possessed. Everything before was done by oneself. Pinch my sister's neck again, and my brother's bath water suddenly turned hot. It's all my own doing. Knowing everything, she's planning to commit suicide. But the shadow stopped her, and then put his massive tentacles. No. The black hand reached into the female lead's mouth. At this moment, the police on the side arrived. This is the scene at the beginning of the film. What the police saw was this eerie scene. With the help of the police, the younger brother on one side has been rescued. But the female lead fell forever, accompanied by the death of the female protagonist. His photo in the room also slowly ignited. She still couldn't make it through in the end. The time frame was set at 2 a.m. on June 15, 1991. That's the end of the story, temporarily adapted from the only unexplainable supernatural mystery by the Spanish police. Although the film has made some modifications to the story, but it roughly restores the terrifying truth of the time. According to the prototype couple in the film, his deceased daughter died mysteriously as a dish fairy playing at school. After the end of the daughter's soul call, the deceased girl showed various strange symptoms. I can still see strange ghosts. And the police did indeed encounter a supernatural phenomenon in the early morning of that day. Here a clear ghost like a boulder rolling over the tile floor. 2 investigators suddenly felt nausea, dizziness, and trembling, and I heard a loud noise coming from my daughter's room. When a group of people rushed over to view a family photo, inexplicable spontaneous combustion, only the part of the deceased girl that burned off. Even the temperature in this room is noticeably colder than in other rooms. This matter has also become a permanent mystery for the Madrid police. Interested friends can search and take a look. Okay, that's all for today's story. I am Shenyang. See you next time.